Welcome to my Accent is No Accident podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Perez. We're here today with a heart coach, a resilient woman who helps other women reclaim their power and begin to live their life of honor. Her name, Rooya Ayubi. Roya is a storyteller, life coach, wife, and mother. An immigrant woman who walked across the desert from Afghanistan to Pakistan when she was only 6 years old. Roya is a survivor of trauma. Because of this, Roya grew up with a deep sense of unworthiness, which led to a decade of depression. After embarking on a major self-healing journey, she came out of it strong and healthy. Her dream and mission is now to guide women who have felt beaten down by the challenges in their lives to reawaken hope, reclaim their power, and begin to live a life of honor. Her work combines a vast array of diverse skills, such as powerful non-defensive communication, storytelling, way of joy qigong, contemplative breathing methods, and zikr remembrance that focuses on the heart in order to help her clients make the shift necessary to embrace a life worth living. Welcome, Roya. It is an honor to have you here with us.
It's definitely an honor to be here with you, and I'm so excited for our conversation.
I am very excited too. I can't wait for our audience to hear your beautiful and a story full of resilience and working through challenge and self-healing.
Thank you.
But before that, I'm going to ask you my signature question. Roya, what is your accent and why is not an accident?
I absolutely love this question. I think it's really symbolizes everyone in this world. I actually grew up taking pride thinking I had no accent because I thought if I didn't have an accent growing up, coming from overseas, then I could be accepted. Little did I know that once I would travel outside of even California and into the states, other states, and into the world, that I would definitely have an accent, regard. It's definitely not an accident because I came from Afghanistan to Pakistan. I struggled to learn their language, and that had an influence on me. And to Virginia, which is so different. I mean, I thought it was a culture shock moving from Afghanistan. I mean, from Pakistan
Pakistan.
to Virginia, but it was a bigger culture shock moving from Virginia to California. And California has its own unique accents all over. Um, all the influences of my background, of my education, of even speaking, um, almost like speaking in Farsi, but translating it into English. That's my accent. We, my sisters and my siblings and I, we don't say dad or mom. To us, that's weird. We say
Yes.
my dad, my mom, and then our friends will look at us. Do you have two different dads or two different moms? And then we go, no, it's the same mom, same dad, but that's how you say it in Farsi. So it really, the accent translates all the way from wherever you started from to where you are, and it really influences the way you speak in more ways than you can imagine.
Yes, that is beautiful. So you had to travel from Afghanistan to Pakistan through the desert with, well, your parents. took you
Hmm.
and your siblings through the desert
Right.
to save you.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit of that story?
Yeah, so you mentioned that I do storytelling. I have like a few 10-minute storytelling sessions that I've done explaining my journey. And this was during the time of the Russian war, and the Russians had taken over, and Afghanistan's army, the government had told everyone that you're not allowed to leave the country. And my father knew it was just going to keep getting worse. And obviously, after we left, it did keep getting worse. And he needed to get us out. So if we were to be caught running away, we could be killed. A lot of people did
Yes.
not that journey. And the only way we could do it was to walk across the desert. So I remember as a little child, so brave at, 6 years old, and I should have been totally freaked out. And at the same time, there was no fear in me. There was just awe and wonder at the sky. There's a scene where I say, I look up at the sky and there's stars everywhere, and I'm just
Oh,
so excited. And then, of course, there are challenges through this journey, um, but we make it. We make it safely to Pakistan, and then life takes a turn as
yes.
we progress. So that's
So,
um,
and that is a wonderful story, that obviously a unique story that not everybody in the planet will live, only a very few. But there is also a story of love
mhm.
in there. The love for your child, in that case, from your parents, knowing that they needed to provide safety to their family. So, very, very basic question. Did you guys walk? Did you use like a carriage or a horse?
So we started out with a couple of donkeys to just carry our belongings. We walked most of the way, probably about, I want to say, a few hours to half a day. We rode on horses, and that was actually the scariest experience because the pathway was so tiny and it was icy. And I remember, I think I was on the horse with uh, my my stepmom, and I watched my mom with my two siblings, two little sisters on there, crossing and slipping. And I was just so scared because I thought if they slip and fall, that's it. I'm gonna lose my mom and my two sisters. But thank God, that they made it safely. And then, like, maybe probably an hour or two was in a car once we arrived in Pakistan. But most of the journey was walking barefoot. And I remember this because I was so young, but my brother, his story's more traumatic, and he was 10, and he said that
Mhm.
he lost a shoe. He had no choice but to walk with one shoe on. So I can't even
Oh,
imagine how difficult that was for him. Yes.
how one, how painful.
Yeah.
And you were 6. So what you're saying, and you described the way you described, you were amazed. You were looking at the skies and the stars, and you were amazed, and it was like a self-discovery. That is like the mind of a child. There was no challenge for you at the moment. You didn't
Mhm.
know it was it. You were just traveling. It's another adventure, another day, and this is what we're doing today.
Yes. Yes.
Which is actually our basic. This is how we're built. Whatever is, we are meant to be able to transcend anything and to go through anything just by knowing that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. I guess there's a level of trust that's already in children where we just believe it's going to be okay. And it makes moving forward and moving into the future um, a lot easier. You just made me realize that, as opposed to adults who are too afraid to take those steps because we've lost our ability to trust. whether that's
Mhm.
trusting in God, trusting in our own abilities, trusting in systems that are set up for us. We've that's been worn out, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
we can back it all together.
And we
And
add to it that we judge.
yes, definitely. We
Yes.
judge the people that are involved, we judge the path, we judge, all the different circumstances. That's so true. That's very true.
So how long did this trip take? Do you remember?
So it was, I think, about 3 days and 3 nights. It was a very long trip. Even though
Wow.
it was right next to us, it was a very long trip. We did bump into small little villages. I remember one village we bumped into, when we made a stop, and all they had to offer us was eggs. And then they were so kind. They boiled a big, bowl of eggs for us, and we took it with us on our way because that's all we had to eat for the next.
Yes.
Yes.
Incredible. So one of the things that is making me thinking right now, I'm thinking about it, so I'm gonna say it, is this is reminding me of Virgin Mary and on her donkey with Saint Joseph,
Yeah.
which is a true story that they walk across the desert to Bethlehem, and it was a couple of days as well walking.
Mhm.
But back then was kind of usual. Were there many others doing this path with you guys?
There was a group of women, so sometimes these people who would help you cross, they would do shady things to try to either take advantage of people,
Hmm.
steal, they would split families on purpose. And so what they did was they split this group of women's men, and the men went one way and the women went another way. And my father was the only other man besides the people who were helping us cross the border. And they were extremely upset. I remember part of my story is going to sleep finally, waking up, and it's just like from a scary movie. It's thick and dark. I wake up to a cry. I look around. I realize we're in a cemetery, and I'm afraid. What is this crying? And I ask my mother, and she tells me these are women who were not expected to be separated from their men, and they're scared. They don't know what's going to happen to them. They don't know if these people are going to take advantage of them, if they're going to steal for them, if they're even going to get to their final destination. They don't know. And my father had to kind of stand up for them and kind of make it clear to these people that I'm not going to let you hurt them. I'm going to be here. I'm going to fight for them if I have to.
This is like pure love, what I'm listening to right now. So once you get to Afghanistan, how long were you before you moved the United States? In
So
in
we lived in
Pakistan, I'm sorry.
we lived in Pakistan for 3 years, and then we moved to Virginia. And my story that started in Afghanistan started with a plane, and I was so excited. And then we weren't able to get on that plane, right? But I got to enjoy it when we flew over to Virginia. And my story arriving in Virginia, it's a funny and beautiful story in the sense that I had never ever seen Christmas lights and that many lights in my life. So as the plane is landing and I look through the window, I'm thinking, oh my God, this country is beautiful. Like, wow, there are so many lights. And then I go into the airport and there's colorful lights and there's lights on trees, and I'm in awe of the US and my experience,
Yes,
first
exactly.
experience.
Like you are like I'm in a movie, in a
Yes,
Christmas movie.
yes.
So when you had the opportunity to travel to from Afghanistan to Pakistan, which is another country, and with different cultures,
Mhm.
as a child, did you ever thought about people being different?
That's a very, very good question. Aside from the fact that they spoke a different language and They obviously were practicing the same religion, so that was not anything different for me. I didn't really experience anything too different. I just knew they were. I still missed my country. I still go back. I think it was just my neighbors, my friends, go walking to my grandma's house. I think those were the things that I missed. It wasn't really like these are different types of people. I don't know how to get along with them. That was
Mhm.
not a of mine as a child. I
Yes,
think because I wanted to go back home.
yes. So within 3 years, you moved from the danger of a war to a different culture, and from there to a way different culture in years. You were now 10, around 10, right?
Yes, about nine and a half, 10 years.
Yes, 9.5, 10 years old when you arrived to US. What would you say that what would you say that was something common in the different travels that you did?
The
Something in common that you will see on people, or something that you'll say, he's kind of the same after all.
well, you were mentioning about what I saw on TV, and it even though it was so different from Afghanistan and Pakistan, it was still not like what you see on TV. Nothing's ever like what you see on TV. It was a very, I guess it wasn't so weird for me. It wasn't like I'm in a strange land. It was just another a part of that journey as a child, just a new place. And I remember struggling to learn how to speak English, but I guess if I were to try to learn another language right now, which I have, it would be a lot harder and I'd be more upset
Yeah.
than I was there. I mean, somehow children are sponges, right? I naturally just picked up the language. I knew this is where I'm going to be probably for the rest of my life in Pakistan because we were told we're not going to, this is not our final destination. We're planning to move on. So it wasn't, and our school was actually still a Farsi or Dari school, taught by Afghan. So I never was forced to learn a different language, even though you're living in that country, it still becomes a part of you. I understand Urdu a lot, and if I really needed to, I could probably try to speak it. In the U.S., however, I knew this was going to be my new home, so I made it a mission to learn. And I actually struggled to learn how to read and write in Dari. I didn't learn how to read and write until I was 8 years old, and it was so hard because there's a level of shame with that. And then I come to the US and I had to start all over again. But I did it.
Yes,
I did
yes.
it. I was able to learn the language, learn how to read and write all over again.
Mhm.
So I love your question. I guess there wasn't too much of a difference. If it was, there would have been a level of trauma in me that isn't here, except for
Yes,
the struggle to learn another language
yes.
again and read
And
and
then
write.
exactly the reason why I'm asking this question is because we are here in front of a woman that has been going through struggles, like trying to save the family, right? Um, take the family to a safe place. And then you will say, well, they were under stress and they were like hyper alert, and they will pick up on all the differences and everything. And then because of the diversity, equity, and inclusion, I asked that question because I wanted to kind of like show the audience that when you are a child and when you are struggling, you're only human.
Yes, that's so
You're
true.
only human, and you're only trying to get to the next step and the next step and the next step. There is nothing, there is no border, there is nothing that will not not stop you, but there is nothing that will make you look or feel different but only you will just try to make the best of the moment and try to continue earning. And that is when you realize that we are meant to be diverse, that we are meant to be different, and there is no really differentiation because we are the same. We're human and we're gonna react the same way. We're gonna do same things and we might have different personalities, but when we go through struggle and stress, we all react the same way. We all turn out with traumas. We all turn out with depressions or with psychological issues because of a trauma, whether it is in whatever in whichever country. Hi, I'm very happy to know you are here watching our podcast today. It is an honor to be featuring so many entrepreneurs on the journeys of their inside voice, their accent that is not an accident. And we want to reach out more people like you who are creating a better world of diversity, inclusiveness, equity, and belonging. So please take a moment to hit the subscribe button below, like, and share to others. And if even if you want to leave a comment, that'll be nice. Thank you for your support. And now back to the episode. So obviously you were very little, and there are a lot of things that you are working on to like to be almost an adult
Mhm.
at a very young age.
Right. I think that's where the struggle came later on. I think because I had to grow up so fast, and I didn't have time or even the opportunity for adults to help me with my trauma. I my whole mission was to be the helper, to make things easier on my parents, to help my siblings, and my entire identity revolved around this, to be this helper. And it left a big void in who I was supposed to be for me.
Mhm.
And that's where my struggle, was probably with unworthiness became more prominent, as I grew older. Because if I'm not the helper, if I'm not the one that takes care of everybody, who am I? If I'm not that, am I worth living? Am I worthy of living a life for me? And if that's the case, then what is that life? Because I don't know it. I was never given that opportunity to get
Yes.
to know what I want in
So
life.
it's like you never knew who your essence was, who was your true self. You only knew how to survive.
Exactly. And finally, when life settles down and you're able to now live life instead of just surviving life, how to do it. And that's when depression cuts kicks in. It's so interesting that when all your life you're going through survival mode, and the moment you're able to rest and be like and relax and say, now I can live life, you don't know how that is because all your life you've lived in trauma and struggle and seeking safety and feeling protecting yourself. So, and that's where I was in my life at one point.
And I can feel that for you, your siblings, your parents. I can imagine your parents were like, "Oh my God, we're doing this to our kids," um, but trying to make it look like it's okay. It's okay.
I think that's the only thing that they had going for them because if they panic, then we panic. I think them not panicking or trying not to panic, they had many moments where they did, gave us the strength to just use that trust that children have innately and move forward.
Yes. And then you had also, you were and your sister were the ones, your siblings were the ones who were translating for your parents on everything and for the
Hmm.
parent teacher
Yep. Teachers
symbol.
want this. By the time it came for my kids, I was like, I've had enough of these. I don't want to do them anymore.
Yes, so you were the translator for them to know, to let them know what they were doing. Did any time, and this is just because I want to be funny, but did any of you, brothers or sisters, um, mischievously convince of something different that was being said?
To the parents
Yes.
all the time. Not too much, but I've had to in moments. But all my siblings, oh, they had a lot of fun. You know, we all knew our parents' signatures because we knew even if I read this, they're not gonna, I can read it whatever way I want and they'll never know. So,
That is so cute. Again, you see, that is a natural reaction of any child, no matter where you come from. So, and then forward, you're saying that you started picking up on, look, I've been depressed for a decade. How did you come to the realization this is depression?
that's a very good question. So after I had my youngest child, I thought it was just, the medication and it was a lot of work juggling three. They were basically a baby and two toddlers at that time. And I was just tired. I would keep falling asleep. And there's in one of my stories, I gasp for air as I wake up, and I get so worried because I remember leaving my baby on the floor, um, on a mat, and I am aware that I have two toddlers that could hurt him. And so when I gasp for air up and I say, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" I look and I see that he's safe, and I see that the other two are safe. And then I actually fall right back to sleep. And I'm just so grateful that those very delicate years, passed by without any serious injuries. Because, and then if that leaves me with feeling this like the worst mother, in the world. And then as years go by, I realized this is not normal. I'm passing out all the time. My friend would come over and play with my kids, and I'd pass out. She would take me in the car to, Chuck E. Cheese with the kid, drive back, I would pass out. And I realized at one point that I just can't seem to be getting enough sleep ever. It's always, I'm always tired. And when I'm
Yeah.
awake, I want to go back to sleep. And so I have zero patience for the kids because I'm just always tired. There's a story that I'm probably going to do as part of my storytelling where my 5-year-old wants to so desperately spend time with me. And I tell him, we call him little grandpa. So I'd say, Baba, Baba, can I just close my eyes? You can count to 100. I'm going to open my eyes, play with you. And he would say, okay. So I would hear him counting to 100 and I would literally pass out and I'd doze off. And within whatever minutes that was, I would actually have lots of dreams and I would just not get well rest. I mean, you shouldn't be able to get well rest counting to 100, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Even then, it was like my mind was still so awake. And then, he would be like, okay, now, mommy, you're awake. We can play. And we would go through this. Can I put my phone on like 10 minutes? And then when I wake up, I promise I'll play with you. And I really thought I would have energy. It was just never enough. I just started
Wow.
saying, I wish I didn't need to sleep ever because then I could be awake and be with my beautiful children and enjoy them.
Yes, and you were younger, so
Yeah.
you will say that your energy level should be up, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
So you decided to go to the doctor, or did you talk to somebody and then they told you? Um,
I did seek out like I went to the health professionals and I let them know. They checked my thyroid. That was normal. All of these things came out normal. Nothing seemed to be wrong with me. And so I decided to just learn about the world and life. And I remember watching a YouTube video about a vision, having a vision in your life. And I thought, my name means clear vision. Why am I not having a vision in life? That's interesting. So I decided to daydream, and it was during the time where, Muslims were really being shown in a negative light in the media. Unfortunately, that's happening again right now. So I decided to open up this cafe, and I would call it Dawa Cafe, and Dawa means to invite. So it would be inviting cafe or invite cafe. And I would wanted people to come and visit to learn about me and about Islam and about Muslims and that we're not that scary, we're just like you. And so I used to daydream about that, and that used to like really make my days go by a little easier. And so after a while of daydreaming, I thought maybe I should take some action. And that's when I reached out to Sharon, who wrote a book called Sharon Sharon Ellison, Taking the War Out of Our Words. And she believes that we've been using the word for communication and that there's a way that we can communicate, which is open and vulnerable, and it's actually powerful. And that's powerful non-defensive communication. And it's based on the rules of reciprocity, which is all over, all around in our environment in the world. And then I realized that, without, because I actually reached out to her because we had a lot of conflicts and problems in our house and my family. But it didn't occur to me that this is exactly the tool I need to be able to open up a cafe and be able to have help people communicate effectively. So it was amazing because all I did was dream, and then that led me to doors. That's how I met Vicky De La Joyo, and I learned about Qigong and storytelling, and it was just like after that, it was history. And
Oh,
these were
beautiful.
the mentors that helped me crawl out of the hole and become the person that I am today.
Okay. And that is amazing and beautiful. Today, after all the things that you have gone through, you decided to take all this, and after going through this path of healing and doing the practices that you that will take you to a better place and that will heal your soul, you decided to not just keep it to yourself, but to share it with other women.
Yes.
And I would like you to tell us how you help other women.
So I believe that the root cause of all suffering is worthiness. It's worthlessness. And it takes me back to the first question that you asked, what is your accident and why is it not an accident? That's where our self-worth comes from. We're all so unique. We're all human and yet we're also unique. Our accent is unique. Our accent is based on all the different experiences that we've lived through to this day. And so when you lack self-worth, you have this pain inside you that is so extreme that you either want to suffer because you're in pain or you're just suffering alone and those who love you around you are suffering because you're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that this unworthiness that I was struggling with is not just my challenge, it's everyone's challenge. And so my vision with Dawa Cafe was to help people understand who I was, that I was not a scary person, that I was just as interesting as they were, and that I'm human and they're human and we can of all different various backgrounds, people of all different various backgrounds come here and get to know each other. And like you mentioned love so many times, to be able to love one another and love each other's humanity. And so I wanted to help and heal the world. I wanted this world to be a better place. And I realized that I've gained all these tools and they're so unique in their own way. I mean, I've gone through so many self-help books. I've gone through so many self-help seminars and workshops and everything. And these tools that I have are so unique. And when it's put together, it's like an amazing, life-changing package. And how could I keep that to myself and not share it with the world?
Mhm.
And not just women, everyone eventually.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Roya, for doing that. So, since we are getting to the end, how can our audience get in touch with you?
So, based on my meaning of my name, I have my website, which is called clearvisionhealing.com. And that's some of my stories are posted there. You could, book a session and we can have a chat. And as well, the social media accounts are linked there as well. So that would be probably the best way to reach me.
Absolutely. And I am putting all the links in the notes. And a last thought that you would like to give the audience with?
My last thought would be that, one of the main things that causes unworthiness is shame. And that can happen even when you're in the womb of your mother. So if your
Mm,
mother is struggling because she wasn't expecting to have another child and she wished that she wasn't pregnant, that actually a level of shame in your body. So
mm,
your mom didn't know she was hurting you, right?
right.
And you don't even know that that was hurting you, but it does. It affects you. And it's actually imprinted in your body as implicit memory. And the way to heal shame, which is such a simple way to do it, one of the major ways actually is honor. And it's when you honor someone, you heal that person of shame and you heal yourself of shame. Right now, we are healing each other as we're having this, conversation with honor,
Yes.
right? Honored to be a part of your amazing podcast, and you were honored to have me as a guest. This was a healing transaction already. And to leave everyone with this, honor everyone that you meet as much as you can, and you're going to be healing shame every step you take. And your
Beautiful. Oh, how nice that. Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much, Roya. This was amazing. And I love what you do, and I love especially that you're working for other women to help them heal and to help them have a life of honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maritza. It was an absolute honor. I enjoyed our conversation so very much, and I your podcast is amazing. I mean, just that question that you started out with is just so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for the praises. Thank you, thank you. After after is the one that we give it thanks to.
I agree.
I leave you, our audience, with my final thought, as always, as I lose my my earpiece. Remember, you came to this world because you were loved, love one another, and to be loved. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.
Right.
Hi, it's Maritza here. If you like this episode of My Accent is No Accident podcast and would like to listen more like this, subscribe wherever you're listening to it or watching it. Leave us a nice review and share with your friends, family, and network. Thanks for listening.